Hi guys, so Boris Johnson on Thursday presented the new economic package that the Chancellor Rishi Sunak had presented in Parliament. He spoke a bit more about it, but I want to focus here on what Boris Johnson is saying in dealing with the pandemic. Now he's going to describe two scenarios, and unfortunately there's a problem with both of them, and I want to point them out. So let's hear what he had to say.
Latest package to help this country in its battle with COVID. And I want to thank Rishi for measures that will protect people's livelihoods and protect jobs, and which will help us to deliver our overwhelming objective of getting the virus under control while keeping pupils in education and keeping the UK economy moving forward. I know that there are some people who say this economic objective is so important that we should stop all measures to control the virus and stop restrictions of any kind on our social lives and on the way we run our businesses.
Now, so basically saying there are people within his Conservative Party, this is a message for them, who want no restrictions. So just let things run rampant. Now, Boris is going to explain the problem with that, but he's missing something very important when he says that.
We can't do that because, alas, the maths is inescapable. We would face many thousands more deaths. And no, to answer one commonly posed question, we would not be able to insulate the elderly and the vulnerable, not in a society with so many multi-generational households. No country has been able to do that. And an uncontrolled expansion in the number of COVID patients would mean that the NHS would have even less capacity to treat heart patients and cancer patients and to deal with all our other medical needs.
Now, Boris is leaving out something very important here. So the reason I have a problem with this argument is what he's saying is true, but the problem is he's leaving something very important out, something key. If you look at the argument that's presented by the extreme who say, just let everything run rampant, we must focus on the economy. Now, he mentioned it himself, the economy. We must look after businesses, the economy. What Boris should be saying is, if we let this virus run rampant and the hospitals are overwhelmed, people are going to go to hospital. They're not going to get treated. That means they're not going to be able to work. So the economy will also suffer. Now, I don't know why Boris is not saying this. I don't know if he is leaving it out for, by accident or by intention. But if their argument is about saving the economy, the best response to them is to say, no, this would actually damage the economy. If there is no virus, the economy can function. But because we have a pandemic, and as Boris has said, people will go back into hospital, hospitals will get overwhelmed, the NHS won't be able to deal with the influx. What does that mean? People will be getting sick, they won't be getting treatment, they'll be staying at home, they won't be going to work. If they're going into work, they're going to spread the pandemic, and you're going to be back to square one again. And you'll have to close businesses. We're going to have to then impose a lockdown. So he should, if their argument is economic, he should be responding to the economic part of it as well. Now, he's not doing that. I wish he did, because I'm sure he understands it. And I question why he's not doing that.
So that's why we reject that extreme laissez-faire approach. And then there are others who say, on the contrary, that we need now to lock the whole place down from John O'Groats to Land's End, turn the lights out, shut up shop, close schools and universities and go back to the...
No, but that wasn't an argument. Now, some people are saying that you should close schools. Some people are saying, no, there isn't one type of lockdown. If you want to maintain schools open but close everything else, that's possible. See, I'm an advocate for the lockdown, but I'm an advocate also of supporting people during that lockdown. The argument that Boris Johnson seems to present is, well, if we do a lockdown, then we're not going to be able to protect people's jobs, or we're not going to be able to protect people's livelihoods. But you did, to a certain extent, do that during the last lockdown.
the same kind of lockdown we had in March and April and May. And I have to say, I don't believe that is the right course now. Not when the psychological cost of lockdown is well known to us, the economic cost, and not when it's being suggested that we might have to perform the same sort of brutal lockdowns again and again in the months ahead.
No, so this is a false argument that Boris Johnson has presented here and in Parliament when the idea of a circuit breaker was introduced to him. He would say, oh, well, you don't know how long it's going to last. The problem is with this argument is, yes, you do. You impose a lockdown for 1 month and you reduce the numbers. We have seen it work. Instead, what Boris Johnson wants to do is impose these tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, that are not working. Instead, what's happening is areas are moving from tier 1 to tier 2, and then from tier 2 to tier 3. And then when they're in tier 3, Boris Johnson himself in Parliament couldn't explain how to leave tier 3. He was asked, is it the R number? And he said, the R number is part of the way out. But he didn't give any clear intention or any clear instructions on how to leave the tier 3. And also, is it something on a regional level that they would be able to do, or is it something that individuals can do as well? Like the hands, face, space is something individuals can do. But how does that feed into the tier 3 lockdown? Once again, I don't like the idea of a lockdown. I think it's extremely damaging to people's mental health. It's damaging to the public health service itself. It's damaging to the economy. But what is the alternative? These half-arsed measures that are proving not to work?
And not when there is such an obvious variation, unlike last time, between different parts of the country.
But this is another ridiculous argument that Boris Johnson has presented. The idea that, well, there are parts of the country that are not affected, not infected. Not yet. But you can't say you don't know when they will become infected. The infection will spread where people are moving. If you allow people to move around, the virus will spread. And here in Italy was a perfect example. The virus was contained for a period in the north. People started to move south to avoid the north, and they brought it with them. Now we're starting to see it spread all over Italy because it was allowed to spread. The same in the UK. You're seeing a lag in the north of England. In the first wave, most of it was concentrated in the south. There was a lag in the north. Now it's spreading like wildfire in the north. The virus doesn't say, okay, well, this part is in lockdown and that part isn't, that I'm going to stay here. That's not how it works. You need a national lockdown. Now, I believe Boris Johnson is eventually going to do this. He has to. Otherwise, he's just going to see the rate of the infection increasing by the day. I think most countries who are talking about not doing a lockdown will eventually do one. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. And unfortunately, the longer we leave it, the more damaging it's going to have to be. More strict, and more of an impact on our economies and, as I said before, on mental health and on our hospitals. The sooner we do it, the better. The later we do it, the worse. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?